Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga, Matchday 38, final day in Spain. Alvaro, with not many things on stake, but for instance, we have the last spot for the relegation and the European battle for the Europa League and the conference. Hello, Alvaro Romeo.
Hello, Eduardo Siles. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Last video of the season. Oh. It's been great to be here. No, it's a real shame. But it's been a very enjoyable thing. And hopefully we'll see you all next season. But yes, there are still 5 games in which there is something to play for. The 7th and 8th spot are going to be contested between 3 sides, and the relegation is going to be contested between Leganés and Espanyol. And there are other targets, of course. For example, Barcelona could score 100 goals. They have scored 99 so far. Atlético Bilbao have a very different target, which is becoming the best defense. I think that they will make it because they have conceded 26 goals only. 𝗵𝗵𝗏, he wants to be the top scorer. He's going to be, unless Lewandowski scores an awful lot of goals in Bilbao. And Lamine Yamal is going to become the best assist provider in La Liga. Again, unless 𝗲𝗛𝗏𝗏 from Villarreal provides 5 assists, which I don't think that he's going to do. So, there are a few things here and there, but for me, the most important thing is the relegation battle. Having reached this point, who is going to go to the second division is probably what will take my focus this weekend, because, I think that Leganés is still hanging in there, Espanyol is still in trouble. That's going to be really interesting.
Well, let's analyze everything, guys. Of course, press the like, subscribe. Tell me in the comments, who do you think is going down, Leganés or Espanyol? And there are plenty of things that I want to talk about with you, Alvaro. So let's go on now with the show. And we have one game on Friday, Betis Valencia, because Betis are playing the Conference League final, remember, against Chelsea in Poland next week. And Betis have nothing to play for since they lost every option to play in the Champions League next season. They are 8 points away from Villarreal. The conference effort paid at all in La Liga, and they lost 4-1 to Atlético Madrid, and they are winless in the last 3 La Liga games. So they want to be boosted by a win with their supporters, Alvaro, against Valencia. Great performances, as we were saying, under 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏, but they don't have any goal as well. They are safe and they are very far from Europe.
Yeah, very far from Europe. At some point we said a couple of weeks ago that maybe Valencia could have a shot at the Conference League, but no, they haven't had it because they suffered 2 straight defeats. Betis cannot qualify for the Champions League. Congratulations to Villarreal, by the way. But Betis' target right now is the Conference League final, that's for sure. This game is a tricky one for me, if I am very honest, because I don't know the level of rotation that Betis is going to put in the team, considering that the Conference League final is going to be on Wednesday. Good thing for them is that they will have 2 more days to prepare this final than Chelsea. Enzo Maresca has been complaining about it, Chelsea manager. But yeah, Betis plays on Friday. I think that there are 2 possibilities. That Pellegrini does a full, complete rotation because this game is totally irrelevant, and he doesn't play or start any player who's going to play or start on Wednesday the next week, or that he plays with the lineup of the final just for the players to prepare themselves ahead of the game. So every possibility is valid here. We still don't know what Pellegrini is going to do. That's why, for me, this game is a conundrum, but it's also a place where I wouldn't like to go, personally. I don't know what Betis is going to do, and that sets the tone. Valencia, on the other hand, they suffered 2 straight defeats, but the second half of the season has been terrific. Now the target for Valencia, I guess, that is to sign a few players in summer. I don't know if that's going to be easy. I don't think that's going to be easy because we know that the owner of Valencia doesn't invest a lot, but keeping the manager and this core of players will mean something already. Hopefully in summer the team won't be dismantled. I don't think so, personally. I don't think so. Only thing is that 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 is going to leave. So this is probably the last game of 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the Georgian goalkeeper, who will be departing to Liverpool, most certainly to have a shot at being a starter for Liverpool, difficult but possible. So for this game, it's either I go for the over 2.5 goals because there is nothing to play for, and therefore normally in these games the teams play with less precautions, or otherwise I pass. But if I will go for over 2.5 goals, which would be my tip, I guess, I will be getting 165 if I won. But this game for me is a pass, really. I think the money is somewhere else, not here, because there are too many question tags ahead of this game, like what is Betis going to do?
Well, on Saturday, good luck to Betis, by the way, seeking and looking for their first ever European trophy against Chelsea in Wrocław. It would be a great season for Pellegrini's men. On Saturday, first game is Real Madrid, Real Sociedad. Farewell for Carlo Ancelotti, the most successful manager in Real Madrid history. So I'm sure we are going to see a beautiful picture with all his trophies on the pitch, 3 Champions League. So it's going to be very emotional, I'm sure, for Ancelotti and for Real Madrid supporters. From here, if you are listening to me, Ancelotti, thank you very much. Grazie. Because you've been great, a gentleman inside and outside the pitch, despite the problems. This season, Real Madrid played really bad, again, against Sevilla, but they won. Bellingham's season has been terrible. Alvaro, he scored. He will be missing this game, by the way. But he was terrible, and now we are only looking at the transfer market with Huijsen arriving, perhaps Grimaldo, perhaps even Nico Williams. There are rumors linking him now to Real Madrid, and also is the farewell for Imanol. He said goodbye to his supporters. Last weekend, Real Sociedad won't play in Europe next season. Imanol, I think, was very sincere. Álvaro, when you don't win, it's time to go, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm going to start by Imanol because you just brought his name on the table. He's leaving as well. Not only Carlo Ancelotti is leaving, but Imanol Alguacil is leaving. And obviously, Real Sociedad and Real Madrid have a different size. But Imanol, in his own way, has been a very successful manager for Real Sociedad too. To the point that his winning ratio in the team is really good. It's a winning ratio of 46.75%. For a team like Real Sociedad, I would say that is brilliant. And probably the highlights of his stay at Real Sociedad were winning the Cup in the Cup 2020, even though that final was played in 2021, and qualifying Real Sociedad for the Champions League in 22-23. Real Sociedad has had very good managers in the past, but what makes Imanol special is that he's been there and doing well for a sustained period of time. Because I remember, for example, Reinaldo Nue taking Real Sociedad second in the 2002-2003 season, but that lasted a year and a half, that lovely period of Real Sociedad. With Imanol, it's been like 5 years of consistent good performances, and he qualified Real Sociedad 5 times to play in Europe. Not this season, but in the previous season. And he gave a chance to a player like Martin Zubimendi, who may leave to Arsenal, may leave to Real Madrid. We don't know, but he is a great midfielder. One of the problems of Real Sociedad this season, not to qualify for Europe, apart from the many things that the sporting direction didn't sign very well, didn't bring a lot of quality to the team, is that 𝗀𝗟𝗏𝗏's goal contribution, which is 18 in all competitions, which is not bad, hasn't been accompanied, followed by any other player. I struggle to think who is the second best striker or scorer of Real Sociedad. Barrenechea, Kubo, Óscarsson. Yeah, they have scored goals here and there, but it wasn't enough. I mean, you need at least 3 players who can score 10 goals or more in order to be up there. And Real Sociedad only had 𝗀𝗏𝗏 doing that. For Real Madrid, goodbye to Carlo Ancelotti. Thank you for being in La Liga. A great manager, great guy, 3 Champions Leagues, as you said. Maybe this is the final game as well of Lucas Vázquez, Modric, and who knows, maybe Rodrigo as well. So many players may be saying goodbye to Santiago Bernabéu. Mbappé will be the top scorer because he has scored 29 goals. Lewandowski has scored 25. So Mbappé to score pays around 160. I think that is going to happen, but the money is not that great. He has to score just to make sure that he wins the Golden Boot, by the way, because Gyökeres and Salah Salah are fighting for the same thing, and Mbappe needs to score a couple of more goals just to be sure that he's gonna get it. And when it comes to Bellingham, hopefully this summer he will have surgery in his shoulder, so he can leave his problems behind. For this game, look, nothing to play for. Again, like in Betis Valencia, I think that goals will happen. Not because Real Sociedad scores many, but because they will play freely. And because Mbappe has his own agenda, which is scoring goals. So over 3 goals, 177. Otherwise, Real Madrid to win and over 2.5 goals, 191. I like that one quite a lot. I thought about the Asian handicap minus 1.5 for Real Madrid, which means Real Madrid winning by 2 goals or more. But the thing is that in their previous home games against Mallorca, against Celta, they have won only by 1, meaning that at the back they haven't been perfect. So maybe I prefer to go for Real Madrid to win and over 2.5 goals in that game. I think the money is good enough.
Mbappe to score is a good one. He's fighting for the golden boot, and I'm sure he will score 1 or even 2. I think I will definitely back Mbappe in this game. Well, there are rumors, or as per today, it looks like 𝗀𝗵𝗻𝗀𝗏𝗀 might stay 1 season more until he turns 40 and playing for Croatia in the next World Cup. Of course, he wants to do it. Let's see what Xabi Alonso decides as well. Well, now 2 very important games, Alvaro. The most important games of the weekend in Spain are on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Leganés, Valladolid, and Espanyol, Las Palmas. Leganés need to win and hope for Espanyol not to beat Unión Deportiva Las Palmas. Both teams are playing against relegated teams. Leganés against Valladolid, the bottom of the table, 29 defeats this season. Leganés, Álvaro, alive thanks to the win against Las Palmas 1-0 last weekend.
Yeah, and I think that they are going to win this game. I'm going to back them. I think that there are 2 bets that are pretty decent, which are a clean sheet for Leganés, 185. Valladolid is, a very bad scorer. And I think Leganés will probably score and then defend. So a clean sheet for Leganés, 185. Otherwise, an Asian handicap minus 1.25 for Leganés is something that I like as well. If they win by 2 goals, you suffer half a lose. By 1 goal, sorry, you suffer half a lose. If they win by 2 goals, you win. And that pays 170. It's all... the narrative goes with Leganés here. Valladolid is quite irrelevant. It's a team that has suffered 11 straight defeats, and I don't think that in themselves there is that pride to put a good performance in the last game of the season. I can't recall any special rivalry between Leganés and Valladolid neither, so I don't think Valladolid will try to screw up Leganés, or play with an extra motivation for whatever the reason, unless there are what we call in La Liga maletines, which are illegal, by the way, which is getting a bonus by someone else, I'm not going to say who, just for winning a game. I don't think Valladolid is going to have that incentive. But anyway, Leganés to win will be mine one, but since the money is not as good as I would like to, Asian handicap minus 1.25 for Leganés, 170. They are going to do their best to win this game, and I think they are going to put a lot of pressure on Espanyol.
Well, let's talk about Espanyol. Is the next game. A lot of pressure indeed for Espanyol playing at home against Las Palmas. Las Palmas are really bad. In the last months, they lost the last 5 games. They are looking really bad. But also Espanyol are in big trouble, Álvaro, because they looked safe only 1 month ago, but they are winless in the last 6. They lost the last 5 games, so they might be shaky. I'm sure they are going to be shaky indeed in this game.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you check the head-to-head, Edu, Espanyol and Leganés drew in January, and then Leganés beat Espanyol, you remember,
yep,
2 weeks ago. So imagine, for example, the following scenario. Espanyol draws their game, and they get 40 points. And Leganés wins their own game, 40 points as well. Leganés will prevail, and Leganés will stay in La Liga, because if there is if 2 teams are leveled on points in La Liga, is the head-to-head what unlevels the tie. So Espanyol has to win, basically, because I really do believe that Leganés is going to beat Valladolid. Not gonna be easy for Espanyol. I think that Las Palmas is way better than Valladolid, way better. Las Palmas has better players. Las Palmas has footballers like Moleiro, for example, who is set to leave to Villarreal, and many more who can be dangerous. Not that they are a great team or anything like that, but they got more than the Valladolid. So I think that Las Palmas is going to be a tougher opponent. Really, I really do. But still, in this kind of games, what normally imposes itself is the need to win, the necessity to get a win, and Espanyol needs it. So maybe the money here will be in the Asian handicap -1 for Espanyol, 160. Espanyol winning by 2 goals, you get your full stake. If they win by 1, you just get your money back. The Asian handicap -1 for Espanyol will be maybe my favorite bet, but I'm not going to keep any of this game for my ACCA. Leganés Valladolid or Espanyol Las Palmas. There is pressure, there are nerves as well. But yeah, logic tells me that Espanyol is going to beat Las Palmas. That's for sure, even though it's not going to be so easy. So I leave it there. Asian handicap -1 for Espanyol for those who want that.
All right, 3 games on Saturday, 9 p.m. This is for Europe. First one is Alavés Osasuna. Alavés absolutely safe after winning the last 2 games with controversial penalties, by the way, against Valladolid and Valencia, so they are safe. Osasuna fighting for Europe. They must win and hope for Rayo or Celta not to win. They beat Espanyol and Atlético de Madrid in the last 2 games.
Yeah, they have. And this game is an interesting one as well, because Osasuna will definitely attack. Osasuna is the one that needs a result. Right now, they are not qualified for the Conference League. They are not qualified, obviously, for the Europa League, even though they can qualify for either of the competitions. They are still 1 point away from Celta, who is 7th, and 1 point away from Rayo Vallecano, who is 8th. But Osasuna needs to win. That's the thing. They need to win, and Alavés is playing for nothing. This is going to be a nice game in which probably 𝗀𝗵𝗻𝗀𝗻𝗀 is expected to make the difference for Osasuna, and Alavés has had a striker like 𝗍𝐿𝐴 who has scored 13 goals this season. So it's a duel between strikers, definitely. I expect Alavés to play with a little bit more of joy and, happiness and nonchalance than they normally play. So both teams to score could be something that I like in this game, strangely. I know that Deportivo Alavés and Osasuna, especially in this kind of regional battles, they don't tend to produce a lot of goals, but at the same time Osasuna needs the goals, and Alavés is playing for nothing, but in front of their crowd. And we have seen, for example, Atlético playing for nothing in front of their crowd. They are a different machine, because they need to please the crowd. They are playing at home. They have to win. They have to show something. So I'm going to go for both teams to score 205. Can be a good one. But if that's too speculative, because we're talking about Alavés and Osasuna, and again, none of them score a lot of goals. Alavés this season has scored 37. Osasuna 47. Not an awful lot. We could go for the market of total goals. And in that case, over 2 goals has a really good value. 175.
Well, and another team fighting for Europe is Celta playing against Getafe. Getafe got a win against Mallorca, so they are safe. They celebrated it a lot because they were really in danger and their schedule was really bad. So another miracle made by Bordalás. Probably he's going to leave the club at the end of the season. By the way, they...
Sevilla.
6 defeats. I hope he doesn't go to Sevilla, to be honest, for his career, for the sake of his career. But let's see. He got saved with Getafe, scoring only 33 goals. So it's a miracle with the squad Getafe have. And now, Alvaro, this game is important for Celta. They must win to keep the Europa League spot after the defeat against Rayo at home.
100%, but for Celta is an unwanted scenario, I would say. You don't want to fight for Europe at Getafe's ground. Getafe, look, I could apply the same logic I've been applying throughout the whole show. Getafe is playing for nothing. Celta Vigo is playing for something. Therefore, Celta is more likely to prevail. But this is Getafe, and Getafe is one of these teams that I will never trust. I will never turn my back on Getafe, if that makes sense. Now they are safe. The last game of Bordalás, most likely, who may be on his way to Sevilla. We don't know about that. Celta thought that they had the Europa League in their hands, but they haven't been able to collect the right results in the last couple of weeks, and suddenly they see themselves in this situation. It's a very tricky one, this one. This is a pass for me. I know that some of our listeners will say, how can you do that? But believe me, going to Getafe is a tough thing, and Getafe is very random as well. For example, their top scorer this season is Aaron Barry, who has scored 10 goals. Before this season, he has scored only 6 goals for Getafe in more than 100 games, and suddenly this season scored 10. It's a team that has beaten Atlético de Madrid, for instance. It's a team that makes it difficult for you, and I know that 2 weeks ago, Athletic de Bilbao managed to win 2-0 here, yes. But it wasn't easy, and they needed to score goals in the second half. And Celta is a young team, maybe some nerves. So I'm not saying that Celta is not going to win it, but I'm just saying that this game is a pass for me, because there are too many elements of uncertainty, and because Getafe, plain and simply, is the kind of team that can give you trouble, even if they don't have to.
All right, and the other team trying to get into the European spots is Rayo Vallecano. They must win to keep the Conference League spot. It would be a great achievement for the club, qualifying for the second time in their history to Europe. Is 10 points in the last 12. Mallorca, nothing to play for since they lost to Getafe. They won't make it to Europe, Alvaro. 4 defeats in the last 5 games for Mallorca.
Absolutely, and they haven't been able to do it. The defeats were, some of them, understandable. They lost to Barcelona 1-0, they lost to Girona, they lost to Real Madrid, and they lost to Getafe. Against Girona and Getafe, if you want to be in Europe, you have to get something else, but they didn't. And, all in all, I think that the season hasn't been particularly great for Mallorca. Yes, they stayed in La Liga, but I think that deep inside, the ownership of Mallorca has bigger ambitions. And the team is not qualifying for Europe. They're in the middle of the table. It's the kind of season that won't stay in the memory of the fans. However, look at Rayo Vallecano with similar means, or even less, and with a manager who has been really good. They are still at the one step away from qualifying from Europe for the first time in a long time. Rayo Vallecano needs basically to be safe that they are playing in Europe. They need one win, and if they win, not only they make sure that they play the Conference League, but they could have a chance of playing the Europa League. And there is a difference between playing the Europa League and the Conference League when it comes to revenue, even though we have seen in the past as well that for some teams staying in the conference is a quicker road to success. Look at Olympiacos, look at West Ham United. But anyway, all in all, a good season from Rayo, and it's either Rayo to win, which the money is not particularly great, I have to say. At the end of the day, 157 for Rayo to win at home is not something that I love. I could go for over 2 goals, which I think that is slightly more likely, because Rayo is going to attack. Mallorca has nothing to play for, but yet they have decent strikers. Over 2 goals, 164, yeah. And let's get that Mallorca has very little to play for, whereas Rayo Vallecano has everything to play for.
Well, all these games with things on stake. On Saturday in La Liga. For Sunday, nothing to play for in the Girona Atlético de Madrid. Atlético saying goodbye to a sad season. I would say they've been on holidays for a while, but remember that they are playing the FIFA World Cup, or whatever is called the competition. But away, if you want to bet in this game, Alvaro, they've been very bad, actually. They are 5th in the away table this season, and recently especially with really poor performances away against Osasuna, against Las Palmas, for instance, and Girona saying goodbye also to a special season because they played Champions League for the very first time, but also very tough. They suffered to stay 1 year more in Primera División.
Yeah, and probably the cycle of 𝗵𝐸𝐿 is over at Girona. I will say that. I don't know what he's going to make with his future, really. but I think that he should move on. He has been a great manager for them. Nothing to play for here. Again, Atlético de Madrid away from home has been poor lately, and then at home they've been a totally different story, totally different proposition. I'm gonna go for the goals market. Over 2.5 goals, 162, maybe over 2.75 goals would be obviously slightly more risky, but the value is gonna be better. Over 2.75 goals, pays 173. Happy to take it. Atletico especially has very good scorers. Julián Álvarez, Sorloth, the guys, who they are. They can score anytime. I don't know how much rotation Simeone is going to put. I don't know if 𝐿𝐭𝐼 is going to play. They say that 𝐿𝐭𝐼 is going to extend his contract, but his contract is running now as well. And, I think this season of 𝐿𝐭𝐼 has been super anonymous, and it will be very sad that if he leaves Atletico without a proper send-off, a proper goodbye. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that he's going to extend his contract. But anyway, the season of Atletico, if they win the FIFA Club World Cup, it's going to be good. But if they don't, it's going to be a little bit disappointing because they spent 141 million. I was checking before my notes from game week 1 in La Liga back in August, and Atletico did the biggest investment. But it's been a matter of details. I think that in the knockout competitions, they've been good. I really think so. And I won't be too critical of them. They lost to Real Madrid in penalties, and they lost to Barcelona, after a lovely semi-final in the Cup. So nothing to complain about that. But then in La Liga, since they lost against Getafe, they let it go. And the second half of the season hasn't been good. So for me, the biggest criticism that one can apply to Atlético de Madrid is their performance in La Liga, especially since spring started. Is it a lack of motivation? If it is a lack of motivation, we have to point at the manager, Diego Simeone. I know that they finished third. I know that this is great for them. Atletico is going to play 14 seasons or 13 seasons or 1,000,000 seasons in a row in the Champions League, meaning that they will have all the money they need just to keep on paying the staff, the players, the manager. But you cannot disconnect yourself from La Liga from March onwards after losing at Getafe. This is unacceptable. Anyway, coming into this game, I'm going to go for the goals market just because I trust in the scoring talent of Atlético de Madrid and a little bit in a minor degree, Girona's. Over 2.5 goals, 162. There's nothing to play for. Hopefully there will be positive football.
All right, the next one is Villarreal-Sevilla. Villarreal achieving the goal of qualifying for the Champions League. Great success for them. They didn't play European competitions this season, so it was slightly easier for them. But again, great job by Marcelino. Sevilla is the opposite. Alvaro, the atmosphere is really bad. We saw it against Real Madrid. Again, probably the sporting director is leaving, Victor Horta. Of course, Caparrós is leaving. They are looking for a new manager, perhaps Bordalás, but you have to be kind of suicidal to get the job with Sevilla at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there is a really bad atmosphere, institutionally speaking. Look, I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? The president is called Del Nido Jr. He's the son of the former Sevilla president, José María Del Nido. These two, father and son, they have a massive battle against each other. The father is lobbying to take over Sevilla. The son is hanging there with no support from anybody, especially the stands and the fan base. What else can I say? García Pimienta, the manager who started the season with Sevilla, may sue Sevilla, take them into court, as he thinks Sevilla owes him money. Sevilla hasn't won back-to-back games in La Liga in 24-25. They've got a new sponsor, Adidas, for the next season. The first time in 40 years that Adidas is going to sponsor Sevilla. And when the deal was signed and the whole thing was presented, unveiled, José María Del Nido Jr., the president, had to get again a lot of boos and stick from the fan base. So even in sponsorships that are quite lucrative for Sevilla, and in events like this, you are getting the discontent from the fans in front of your face. The institutional situation is very difficult, very toxic. And on top of that, from a sporting point of view, Sevilla will have to handle a lot of issues. Who do they want to be the manager? What are you going to do with a lot of dead wood that you have in the squad? What are you going to do with, for example, 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗍𝗔𝗓𝗍, a footballer who was sent on loan to Middlesbrough, and he has scored 1 goal there. And Middlesbrough has already announced that they don't want to have the Nigerian striker 1 more season. There is so much work to do, no money, and one of the worst sporting directors in La Liga. I say the same thing again and again and again. He signs players that, for those who cover the Premier League, and include myself in that lot, we know that they are going to be a massive failure. Rejects from the Premier League. Why should they work at Sevilla? Why should they? He doesn't know about football. I'm sorry, but this is the reality. Villarreal, on the other hand, is a team that is run very well. Let's don't take them as granted. I mean, they will play the Champions League for the 5th time. I've been to Villarreal in March, and I was working with the club a little bit in March. It's a tiny town, 40,000 inhabitants. There's nothing to do there apart from playing football. The football ground, el Estadio de la Cerámica, is basically the church, the meeting point of all the Villarreal population. There's nothing there apart from playing football. That's the only thing you can do. And they're doing that very well. The academy is terrific. The academy is demanding. Yesterday, it was announced that most likely the manager of Villarreal B, which is the second team, is going to be sacked because the results weren't too good, meaning that the team is demanding as well with themselves. And yes, they did a massive investment in summer because the net spend of Villarreal was 70 million, but they got some players over there who have been so good and so clever to sign, like, for example, 𝗷𝗵𝗍𝗍𝗍. Basically, they took the best scorer of their main opponent in the run to the Champions League, Betis, for 4 million. And 𝗷𝗷𝗍𝗍 is the player who has given more points to a club this season. Now, they want to sign Ratio, the defender from Rayo Vallecano, who is defensively one of the best in La Liga, a right back, and they can do it for 7 million. The release clause of Ratio is 25, but Villarreal can sign him for 7, because this player belongs to the Villarreal academy, and therefore Villarreal has this option. They are doing a terrific job, and if Baena leaves this summer to Atletico, which is a big possibility, they already have the replacement pretty much agreed, Moleiro from Las Palmas. You know, it's a totally different model. I know that Sevilla has won Europa Leagues in the past, but that was down to some incredible runs in the last moment of the season. But Villarreal, generally speaking, is a much better team. And I hope they win here because they deserve it, really. They have had a really good season. I'm going to back them with an Asian handicap -1, 168, plain and simply, because they have better players and they've got a better style, and they know what they are doing. Sevilla doesn't know what they are doing right now.
Indeed, well, and for Sunday we have Athletic Barcelona in San Mamés. It's been a hectic week in Bilbao with the Europa League final, and now saying goodbye to the team. Also, great success for Athletic, also, of course, for Barcelona, so they have reasons to celebrate, both of them. Athletic playing Champions League again next season, 3 consecutive wins to nail this 4th spot. And Barcelona, what to say about them? They are celebrating the whole week, or the last 2 weeks, Alvaro, all their success in Spain, and now with President Laporta talking about renewing and extending, of course, Lamine Yamal's contract, which should happen this summer.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to be easy, personally. Edu, because at the end of the day, Lamine Yamal is going to ask for a lot of money, and we know the difficulties of Barcelona to register new players, and blah, blah, blah. So that's going to be one of the difficult things to do for Joan Laporta. Some trouble for him, but I have no reasons to believe that Lamine Yamal will make it too difficult for Barcelona either. So let's see how that works. This game is going to be a joy to watch, I guess. There's nothing to play for. It's the best attack versus the best defense of La Liga. Barcelona has scored 99 goals. Athletic has conceded 26. And yeah, we have spoken about Barcelona a lot, but what a season from Athletic de Bilbao. This is one of the best seasons I can remember for them. I remember that in '98 they qualified for the Champions League with Luis Fernandez, coming second. But that Athletic de Bilbao got 65 points only. I mean, it was the time when in La Liga you could win it with 69 points, as Deportivo de La Coruña did it in 2000. Sorry, Edu. Oh, I thought that you were saying something.
No.
This season, Athletic de Bilbao is gonna get more points than they did in '98 when they finished second. They have lost only 5 games in La Liga. They have recorded 5 games in a row without conceding a goal in the league, which is the record of this season. And there are, of course, some question marks. Is Nico Williams gonna stay? He missed the last 5 games, by the way, so he needs to perform well before the Nations League. What is going to happen with Athletic's investment this summer? If they are going to play Champions League football, I think that they need to make the team stronger. Will Areso, Aimar Oroz arrive? Those are possibilities. It's going to be a busy summer in Bilbao. You have to get ready for Champions League football. And Óscar de Marcos will be leaving. Just in the same way that you have done a tribute to Carlo Ancelotti, I want to do a tribute to Óscar de Marcos, one of the best captains Athletic de Bilbao can have. 16 seasons in Athletic. His father was the president of the fan base of La Guardia, where he was born, Óscar de Marcos, the fan base of Athletic de Bilbao, the fan club, sorry. So de Marcos was born pretty much wearing the Athletic de Bilbao shirt. He fulfilled his dream. He played for Athletic, and he's been a terrific captain, and there are things that give me goosebumps. For example, for many years, he's been every Friday going to the local hospitals in Bilbao to visit children who are going through a bad disease, just spending time with them. He didn't want the press to talk about that. He said, if the press talks about this gesture of mine is losing value. He's been a terrific representative of Athletic de Bilbao, the player that basically, I would like my son to be. So, good season from Athletic, great season from Barcelona. What can I say? And I think that this game is going to be entertaining. Athletic de Bilbao doesn't concede many, but this time they can play, differently because they have to please the crowd. Barcelona scores a lot of goals, so I'm going to go for over 3 goals this time. Okay, I'm going to keep that, knowing that Athletic has conceded only 26. Over 3 goals, 180.
Well, tribute well received and deserved to Óscar de Marcos. Indeed, he looks like a really good guy, by the way. Well, guys, this is it for La Liga, Álvaro. 38 weeks later, I enjoyed a lot talking with you about Spanish football. Guys, remember, of course, that we still can publish our tips in the website of Oddspedia and participate in our tipster competitions where you can win some cash prizes, and also we have available rivals where you can create your tipster competitions. Álvaro, let's go with your last safe bet.
Real Madrid, Real Sociedad, over 2.5 goals, 148.
And your last ACCA?
Let's win it. By the way, the last ones weren't bad. Real Madrid to win and over 2.5 goals. Athletic Barcelona over 3 goals. Altogether 344.
Well, thank you, Álvaro. Thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully we will be back in August with more La Liga shows. But let's see what happens in this life. Álvaro, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.